Good evening. Thank you for being a part of the Wednesday edition of Uctv News. I am Sande Gloria Aboch. Nebi Catholic Diocese has officially flagged off the annual pilgrimage to Namugongo ahead of the Uganda Matters Day set for June 3rd, 2024. The flag-off ceremony held in Nebi was presided over by the Archbishop-elect, His Grace Raphael Wokorach, who blessed and encouraged the pilgrims embarking on the spiritual journey. This year's pilgrimage marks a significant moment for the faithful as they prepare to commemorate the sacrifices of the Uganda Martyrs. The Uganda People's Congress UPC party has called for the enforcement of the National Environment Act 2019. The call comes at a time when the Minister of Water and Environment has warned the general public about the anticipated heavy rains and the rising water levels in Lake Victoria, thus causing flooding in areas of Gaba, Masese and Kigungu. According to the party spokesperson Sharon Oyat Arach, during the inevitable circumstances, the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness must be in place to render the necessary assistance to the affected families.
In Uganda, the ongoing rainy season across the country has projected by the Ministry, as projected by the Ministry of Water and Environment, has indeed already affected some parts of the country in varying degrees. For instance, in the Karamoja sub-region, the heavy rains have led to floods and cutting off roads, leading to road diversions, which are temporary in usage and can equally get affected in due course. However, we need to be mindful that a combination of landslides, floods, and waterlogging equally leads to water contamination, which is a recipe for the spread of waterborne diseases such as cholera, dysentery, and malaria. This calls for alertness by all stakeholders, especially the general public, to be very cautious of their general hygiene, and the Ministry of Health to provide the necessary services to the affected area as well as the people. UPC takes note that the effects of climate change are a reality, which therefore need to move in boldly to put in place a number of measures that can help in preserving our farming practices, which we ought to pay utmost attention to. And these are started with the reforestation, afforestation, and these should help to reduce the effects of the climate change, such as soil erosion and so on. Advocating for preservation of the environment, following the legislation that promotes the preservation of the environment, especially wetlands, rivers, lakes, and forests. UPC calls for their implementation without fear or favor. The habit of building in wetlands and water channels has to stop with immediate effect. This concerns all of us, and we should fight it together. Unfortunately, there are people who are taking over forests, there are people who are taking over wetlands, and they are the so-called untouchables. And these are the things that we call substandard. If you decide to protect the environment, it doesn't matter who that individual is, they should be able to vacate them, or they should be able to be stopped from using such areas. We can see what happened to Namambo, which was entirely a wetland, now it is an industrial area. Those who have been to Mavira Forest, on the roadside, yes, it is a forest. Inside, there are lodges in there and recreation centers that have structures. So these are things that we need to look into. Let us not look at where our eyes can see but rather let us do things with a positive mindset, not because a certain group of people are benefiting due to that. Eventually, or fortunately, when these swamps start reclaiming, it will be government to come out. We shall also be calling out government, but unfortunately, it will be the government causing such incidents.
And finally, from the local scene, Cabinet has approved the early childhood care and education policy aimed at streamlining the kind of care and support that must be provided to children between 0 to 6 years. Chris Bariomosi, Minister for ICT and National Guidance, justifies that this was based on available scientific evidence on human development, giving answers to often asked questions on when is the right age for formal learning to begin. The ICT minister said this while briefing members of the press on different cabinet resolutions.
We did consider this policy and passed it. And the justification or the reasons why there was need for us to look at this policy is, one, we're examining the scientific evidence available on the human development and basically trying to answer the question as to when should formal learning be started to an individual, at what age, and also we took note of the evidence available of the positive correlation between quality early childhood care and education and the better educational outcomes. For instance, there is evidence that once you are exposed to quality education at an early age, before you start primary schooling, then that is associated with the better educational outcomes later in adult life. And we did pass this policy and resolved that yes, for now, it will be implemented and spearheaded largely by private sector or non-state actors until that time when we have got adequate resources for government to start pre-primary education as one of the services that we do provide. So in other words, we passed the policy, but I agreed that we continue providing pre-primary education the way it is now, being provided by the private sector, the faith-based institutions, private individuals, and the government will come in to start pre-primary education formally later, maybe in 3 to 4 years. However, shall keep the responsibility of regulating pre-primary education or the early childhood care and education. In other words, the policy guidance will provide areas like how much fees should be charged to these young ones.
Welcome back. It is time now to take a look at today in history. Thank you very much for watching the Uganda Catholic Television. Now UCTV News takes a break and we'll be back shortly.
UCTV, good news for all.
Catch incredible stories of resilience, success.
You can manage that money.
With a topping of inspiration.
Get interested in people, not interested in yourself.
Inspire, achieve, repeat.
You are watching UCTV, good news for all. For this and more, tune in to Kasese Get Radio 100.5 in Western Region, located at the hill of the Diocese of Kasese. KGR brings you all Catholic programs and an advertising platform in all our radio shows like Good Morning Renzori, Chama Towoka, Ukute, the business show, Propeller, the request show and sports, Evaluation, Bahinga Bakuluka, Late Night Show, and many others. Our other services include Isuzu Tipa, a no car, public address system, live band, Omokekera, an audio recording studio, and outside live broadcast. For more information, call 0773-597-166 or visit our website www.kasesegetradio.com. Kasese Get Radio, Omusondoria, the voice of truth.
UCTV, good news for all.
And onto our segment, the Uganda Matters feature, we bring you the story of Saint Anatoly Chirigwajo. Saint Anatoly Chirigwajo. Chirigwajo was a Munyoro from Chaka County in Toro. He was of the Basita descent belonging to the Bushback clan. His parents are unknown. He was captured by the raiding Baganda at the age of 16 and taken to a chief called Kisomose. It was Kisomose who took him to the palace of King Mutesa I to serve as a page. Chirigwajo served in the inner enclosure, mainly in the Twekobe, King's house, under Joseph Mukasa. He was a skilled hunter and a good herdsman who had keen interest in both of these skills and who used his talents in them whenever he had a chance. At the palace, Chirigwajo was impressed by the good behavior of the Catholics, their kindness, trustworthiness, particularly of Joseph Mukasa, their leader, and Andrew Kagwa, his fellow tribesman. He took up Catholic instructions given by these two. Chirigwajo was very strong and pious Catholic. During King Mwanga's reign, Chirigwajo served in the audience hall. The king loved him and promoted him to a post of catering for his wife's rooms and commodities from outside. Anatoly found out that the post would destroy his beloved virtue of chastity. He thus dared to decline the post, though he was sure would result into the loss of his life. But this time, though the king got very annoyed, he did not order for his death. When the Christians' persecution broke out, the king singled him out and said, "This Munyoro page refused the post I gave him, thus despising me." Anatoly was burnt to death at Namugongo on the 3rd of June, 1886. He is the patron of hunters and herdsmen. And with that wraps up the Wednesday edition of UCTV News. I am Sunday Gloria Aboch. Good evening and good night.